we had a focus group meeting with them, and we asked them, hey, how do you guys want to get your information? How do you want to get your education? Because we really want to take away the excuse of, I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. We wanted them to be able to be comfortable in knowing some of the regulations of the general permit, as well as understand the connection to why. Why are we doing this stuff? It's not just because somebody in the city tells you to do it. It's what are the impacts that not treating stormwater when it is on your site, or not managing, in our case, managing your farm fields and using some of those nature-based solutions, like that we consider nature-based solutions, cover crops, to hold water back, or to allow water to infiltrate in your farm field versus running off into the ditch and just getting to the river as quickly as it can.
Hey there, welcome to the Stormwater World Podcast. Shout out to our parent company, Digital Stormwater. We're out there making an impact in stormwater one click at a time. We put more stormwater people in front of your stormwater products and services. How we get there is totally up to you. Some of the services that we offer are social media management, Google, LinkedIn, and Meta ads, SEO and content creation, website builds and updates, AI automations, consulting, and a lot more. So the question is who do you know that needs our help? If you're on YouTube, you can click on that QR code to learn more, or you can give us a call at 844-451-2534, or you can visit us at digitalstormwater.com and schedule a call with us today. I'd like to thank everybody that's been listening to this podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get back to the episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of the Stormwater World Podcast. With me today is Todd Clark from Elkhart County Soil and Water Conservation District in Elkhart, Indiana. We are going to talk about an event that they just put on this year, and they're going to be doing again next year, that is very interesting to me. I think it's a cool initiative. I think if you have any of things going on like they do in Elkhart, you'll want to you want to listen to the whole thing and kind of get some ideas, and you'll probably even want to reach out to Todd and just pick his brain a little bit, because they've had a very, very successful inaugural conference, and I think they're going to have another successful one next year in 2025. But to get started, let me introduce our guest today by reading a wonderful bio that he provided to me. So Todd Clark is a conservationist at Elkhart County Soil and Water Conservation District in Elkhart, Indiana. With 15 years of experience in management and leadership training, Todd Clark brings a wealth of knowledge to his role as a conservationist at Elkhart County Soil and Water Conservation District. Over the past 9 years, he has worked on his family farm, gaining deep insights into agriculture, and for the last 5 years, he has specialized in stormwater management and MS4 regulation. Todd holds a bachelor's degree from Indiana University in Indianapolis, but has discovered that the real education doesn't start until after you walk out of school and into the working world. He excels in public outreach and education, from one-on-one conversations to large-scale event planning and execution. His dedication to effective communication and engagement has not gone unnoticed. He received the Indiana MS4 Partnership 2024 Award of Excellence for the outstanding outreach event known as Pay Dirt, where cultivation and construction meet, which is what we're going to be talking about today. He takes great pride in the innovative tools his office has implemented to help those operating under the construction stormwater general permit within Elkhart County achieve success. Motivated by engineers, contractors, and erosion control inspectors he works with, Todd draws on his extensive management experience to deliver a customer service-driven approach to his county role. Outside of work, Todd enjoys a rich family life with his beautiful wife and five amazing children. An avid traveler, he also takes time to appreciate and protect the natural beauty close to home. Todd, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely, Ty. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and thanks for that bio. I mean, if we're done here, okay, that's
okay,
it.
That's all you need to know right there. I think everybody probably got real wide-eyed when they saw 5 kids. Oh my gosh.
Right? I don't think we talked about that before. We, on our other call that we have. So, how old are your kids?
Well, I have 2 children that, and I call them children. They're actually grown now. I have 2 that live in Texas, and my son Peyton lives down there. He has one of the things that I'm kind of proud of. He has autism. It's been something that we've dealt with throughout his lifetime, but he's been very successful. He actually graduated from the 12 plus program that they have at his school, and he is now working there in their cafeteria. He has a job. He's very successful. One of my proudest parent moments is what he's been able to accomplish in spite of all the things that he's had going against him. Peyton's sister, Haley, she is a sophomore at Oklahoma State University. She's majoring in psychology, and she also is in the marching band. So she gets to have a lot of fun doing that. She's been involved in the band since she was very young, and hasn't been able to leverage that experience to kind of help her pay for college and take that out of state tuition. She lives in Texas, but she's going to Oklahoma. So it's been an excellent thing for her and paid off, and has just made a ton of friends for her. And it's been a great experience. I have 3 little ones that live with me here in Indiana. So Kinsley, Carly, and Callie. And yes, the mom might have a first name that starts with a K too. So they really are great girls. I tell you, they keep me young. So I'm kind of that older dad when I go to school functions, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of rubbing my gray beard, and all these young 25, 26-year-old parents that are sitting there, and they're going through what I went through years ago. I kind of laugh at the difference in the approach to parenting. But Kinsley is 8. She's in 3rd grade this year. Carly is 6. She's the queen of her 1st grade class. And then Callie, who is my littlest, she runs the house, and she's 2 years old. So just got through the Halloween season, and I can tell you that it's so much fun to see them do those things, and watch your kids and have those experiences through them. It really makes life enjoyable. So they're the best of me, and I'm really glad that I have as many as I do, because I really, it costs a fortune, but it's probably the best money I'll ever spend. So it's a great return on
That's
investment
awesome.
with kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I guess let's talk about this event. So, how did it come about? How did it go this year? Where is it headed? Let's kind of break it down for our listeners, so that, because this is a little bit different than, I guess what I would say is a standard stormwater conference. This is a lot from what you've explained. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to attend. We've had some clients on our agency side that were there, and they said it was fantastic. But go ahead and kind of break it down for everybody of kind of how it came to be.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that when we started trying to plan out our contractors workshop in our county, we had a few obstacles. First of all, when I started with the county, it was February of 2020. Well, if you remember, March of 2020 was COVID, right? So that all started and everything shut down, and all of the events that were in the past, you almost had to forget about it because it wasn't an option for at least a year and a half. And so it was an opportunity for us to go back to the drawing board and take into consideration some of the things that we as an SWCD had as obstacles to getting people to come to our events. What was it that they were wanting to actually learn about? What were the things that would be most impactful, and also in the end of it get results for us based on our education? So if we're going to teach them something, we're going to want to see some real impacts out in the community that they're making on behalf of us. So what we did was we got together a group of people that we considered to be the decision makers in some of the businesses, some of the contractors, some of the engineers, and it ultimately turned out to be a team that was actually building Elkhart County. And we had a focus group meeting with them, and we asked them, hey, how do you guys want to get your information? How do you want to get your education? Because we really want to take away the excuse of, I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. We wanted them to be able to be comfortable in knowing some of the regulations of the general permit, as well as understand the connection to why. Why are we doing this stuff? It's not just because somebody in the city tells you to do it. It's what are the impacts that not treating stormwater when it is on your site, or not managing, in our case, managing your farm fields and using some of those nature-based solutions like that we consider nature-based solutions, cover crops, to hold water back, or to allow water to infiltrate in your farm field versus running off into the ditch and just getting to the river as quickly as it can. So after we met with all those people, the biggest complaint that they had was, because everybody we met with was stormwater, right? They were contractors. Their complaint was, why do farmers get a pass? Why do ag people
Hey,
not have to
I'm
follow?
not a track contractor. I'm asking the same question.
Why is
So
it they can
here we
drag their
go.
fields out onto the road, and if we do it, we get a fine, and if they do it, everybody just whatever, it's coming out of a farm field. And it really made us think, like, here's the thing, we know that that's the case, and we understand the frustrations with that, because if you live in an agricultural community, you'll understand that when you have animals, you have manure, and when you have manure, you have to put it somewhere. It doesn't just disappear, and it has to be spread out onto these fields. And then you have large tankers going in and out of fields. They're dragging the soils and whatever comes along with that back out onto the roads, and they need to maintain that just the same way that somebody would be if they were building a warehouse, or if they're building an RV manufacturing facility, that type of thing. So we kind of took that to heart, and we already, as an SWCD, were doing trainings for agriculture. And a lot of times we would just have kind of a symposium style thing where we would have a speaker come in that talked about, rotational grazing or manure management. And they were getting education from us in that way. And my district manager, Jim Hess, and we sat down, we said, we're just going to put this all together because it all fits. And I need the guy who is the excavator to sit there and ask that same question to the guy who is spreading the manure. I need them all in the same room, because at the end of the day, it's all storm water, and it's whether it lands in a field or whether it lands in a parking lot, it all goes into a drain. And whether that drain is a pipe or whether that drain is a ditch or a stream, it all is ending up being the same way. It all should be treated in some way so that we can continue to have the beautiful community that we do have, and the recreational opportunities that we can provide to our residents, because our water is clean. But the minute you kind of let things go and you leave it in the hands of somebody who's trying to do things under a timeline and trying to make money, then it turns into they don't take those necessary steps to ensure that their water is getting cleaned up before it gets into the waterways. So Pay Dirt was born, and we had the idea, we had the concept. I was sitting in my living room one Friday afternoon, and I took a piece of paper that was lined, and I drew a picture on it that was of a tractor and a dump truck going side by side. Well, then I thought, what if I merge these two together? And we're going to have it really is the same thing, because we're all utilizing the earth for different purposes. But I drew, it was this big picture that I drew, and I sent a picture of it to Jenna, who works in our office, and she's our computer person. And I said, hey, can you make this into a fancy logo, and she kind of laughed, and she was like, that might be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but I got to tell you, I can do something with this. I know where you're going. And so we decided, you know what, we're going to brand this event. We're not just going to have it as the Elkhart County Contractor Training Workshop. We were going to name it. We're going to brand it. We're going to give it a logo. We're going all in, because we want it to be something that people, instead of saying, hey, what's that training you guys do? What I wanted was for people to look at me and say, hey, Todd, when's Pay Dirt next year? And that's what's happening. So when you talk about the clients that you have that have mentioned, yeah, we went to Pay Dirt and it was a great event, they knew it as Pay Dirt. And it's so having some successful branding for us made a huge impact in getting people to kind of raise their eyebrows and also think, well, why, this is two different things. Why I've never thought of these two together. Well, in Elkhart County, we have 300,000 acres of land total, and about 150,000 of that is tillable ground. But the rest of it is RV manufacturing and all of the different things that are related to that. So we have this 50-50 mix of urban sprawl and agriculture. And even in that 50-50 split, our agricultural industry, um, it's worked the top 5 in the state in 75% of all livestock producing categories. So when you talk about ducks, there's duck barns around every corner. There's chicken barns around every corner. There's cattle barns for dairy operations. And so our MS4.
But now, like, before everybody thinks you guys are just like old McDonald had a farm over there, you guys are also the largest manufacturer of RVs in the country as
Absolutely.
well, are you not?
In the
Yeah.
nation, 90% of them.
So here we go, right? So here we go. We've got it, so we got some concrete stuff going on. We got a lot of farming things going on, right? So
We do. And it's that's where it really made sense for us. And I think we're not alone in this. I think there are a lot of other counties or areas that experience the same type of growth because, ultimately cities are expanding and, they're annexing these unincorporated areas and they're putting them, they're not reusing what they already have. They're growing because they want new facilities that are able to handle what they're trying to do more efficiently. And it just makes sense for them to expand in that way. So we've been seeing a tremendous amount of ground transition from ag ground into manufacturing, but most of it is already earmarked for that. For example, that it's been purchased by developers, and now we're just getting to the point where it's being built upon. So, yeah, it's a big thing for us, and so you get that urban expansion, but these people who are building these livestock barns, they're big enough that they trigger a stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Right.
So they're also dabbling in that world of stormwater where it's just not, you can't just call your neighbor and have them slap up a pole barn for you in a couple days. You actually have to take into consideration what you're going to do with the quantity and quality of water that you're dealing with when you're building these buildings. So our agricultural community has also been forced to kind of be a part of all of this MS4 stuff. And as our county is designated as an MS4, it has brought attention to all this to all of these people in those communities that ordinarily might not have any idea that that's even a thing. So when we are talking about this stuff, it's not a brand new concept to them. They've maybe gone through it because they have built a building, and we are giving them some training and helping them to understand why it is the way it is, why they need to do these weekly inspections, and why they need to, rather than just letting their runoff go off into a farm field and flood the neighbor out, why you might want to manage that and make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well as your neighbors.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you had this. So that to kind of go back to how the event unfolded. You have this idea. You brand it, logo. Obviously people liked it from the feedback we had already discussed. But so what does the event itself look like? So do you have a education track for the agricultural side, and then an educational track for the MS4 side, and then how do we get them to? And then what do you guys do for the crossover? Like what's the guts of the program look like?
Yeah, so last year we kind of it was our first go at this, and we made the agricultural focus on one day, and we did the stormwater focus on a second day, and
Okay.
so there was a little bit of a difference, but we also had the opportunity for people to come to all of it. They could choose to do just one day if they wanted, because we know people have time constraints, but we also wanted people to have the opportunity to come to the entire event. And by doing that, we had some crossover, more so than I think we really expected. I was surprised at the amount of people who are in the ag industry that were kind of being nosy and wanted to come to the stormwater piece. But then also some real players in the stormwater industry. I know you're familiar with Luke Owen. We had Luke Owen at our event from the NPDES Institute, and he was one of our speakers. But I think he was fascinated by the concept of this kind of agricultural crossover and how it doesn't, there, impacts are beyond our city limits. And there can be positive and negative impacts made by getting into these outer areas upstream from the city limits. But Luke really was a big buyer in what we were selling, and I think that
Oh
having
man,
him,
Luke's a good dude. Luke's a good guy, and he's a good dude. Plus, he's such an outdoorsman, right? Like,
he
so
is.
it's such a yeah. Like, so when you start showing him all that, I mean, if Luke called me today and said, you know what, I'm just gonna go become a farmer, it wouldn't shock me at all. Like, you know, what I mean? Like
Right.
he loves the outdoors, right? I mean, you know, and so yeah, I would that doesn't shock me not one bit that he was very very intrigued by what you were kind of you know, the education that you were trying to get out there to everybody of what's going on. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think so almost everything that if you're in agriculture or if you're in stormwater, you usually have some kind of a certification behind your name that you need credits for. So we tried to provide paths for people to get some PDH credits. So if you were an engineer, if you're certified as a SESWE or SciSec or anything like that, we offer credits for that. But we also offer what's called PARP credits. Those are for agriculture. So if you are a manure applicator, you have to have certain certifications. I know that sounds crazy. You just can't
Just,
go
I'm just
and
not,
haul
I'm like,
manure.
you know, I try to tell my wife, like, I am just a 15-year-old boy trapped in this 50-year-old body. So, you know, you say manure applicator and I
It
just,
well, right.
it
It
just
makes you
goes
kind of, but
like
and
that's,
that's
but please,
there are
any of you manure applicators out there, it's not, don't please, no disrespect. It just sounded, it just, I'm just that guy. Sorry, it was funny to
it
me.
well, and I get a little bit of a kick out of it as well because I don't know. I sometimes when people ask, well, what do you do for a living? And I don't know that that's the first thing that you would want to say, but at the end of the day, it's an important job.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there's a lot of chemistry in it, there's a lot of biology in it, and these guys have to get this extra training, and so we offer that, and we make it a big part of what we do because they have direct access to many of those ditches, and they haul right up against them, and if they don't understand to leave some space and to have these vegetative buffers in place to make sure that we're not putting it directly into the ditch and impacting what's going on in our waterways, then that we're not doing ourselves any service by not giving them that training. But to
Gotcha.
kind of get back to the event itself, they these opportunities to get the credits that we had were breakout sessions. So we did, it's a formula that most of these events have. You may have a keynote speaker, and then you for the plenary session, and then you have some breakout sessions. And we did, in the stormwater day, we had 3 different things. We did a breakout session for plan preparers and engineers. Then we had a contractors and inspectors path, but the third path that we did was an urban conservation path, and that was for more like the general public, because I think there are some opportunities there that we do outreach all year with rain garden and rain barrel workshops, and we do stuff like that. Well, we thought, you know what, let's incorporate that in this event so that if there are some people that just show up just to see what's going on, maybe they don't want to sit and get a credit to be at sit and listen to an engineer tell you how to look at silt fence. That doesn't apply to them, but we wanted to offer some opportunities for people to learn some ways that you can actually impact stormwater and water quality in your own backyard and manage it in a better way than just running it out the gutter and out into the road or the highway drain or whatever.
What kind of response did you get from that track? I'm curious because I tend to talk all the time about the echo chamber that is the stormwater industry, and any ability to get additional information out to the public is, man, whatever we can do, I think is amazing. So did you guys have some interest in that?
I think it was it was not as much as we would have anticipated. I think we had between 20 and 25 people go through that session, which isn't a loss at all. I think, some of them were from neighboring cities and their parks departments, or, and they were coming to see maybe how we did the presentation. The other thing was we did have some of the people that, like our county attorney, he's putting a rain barrel in. It was one of those people who was at the event because he was asked to be there, but then he was getting some take home information that, this is actually kind of a good idea. I'd like to do this for my garden. And so if one of the people I work with, they always say, and his name's John, and he says, if you got one person, Todd, that got something out of this event, then I'll say, well, we got one person on that path. It was worth doing it. But it was something that we continue to incorporate in our events, because you have to have the why part of it. You can't just tell people what it is. You have to have a little bit, whether it just be one of your speakers or whether it be a demonstration that you show people. There has to be a why piece in everything that you do. And some of the people that I really look up to in the industry, Joe Moore being one of them, he's made a living off of the why. And I think that resonates with a lot of people, because when you get into it, sometimes you think, well, I'm not going to make a difference. This doesn't have any impact on anything. And yeah, it does. And if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
if you can show people that you can catch some rare fish that 20, 40 years ago would have never been in our river, and now you're finding them and you're catching them, and it's a really neat thing to be able to see that.
That's cool. That's very cool. So you guys are going to continue into this coming year's in 2025's event. You're going to continue that idea of getting the public involved. I'm assuming it's no charge to the public to come in,
We
or
actually,
are you
one of the
charging a
things
little
we've
bit, or what?
discovered,
What?
we
I mean, that is a good question. Like, what does it cost to be
well,
part of the event?
I will say, if you're just a citizen of Elkhart County or a neighboring county, and you're coming to the event, it's going to be $20 for a 2-day event. So not very expensive, but what we've found is a lot of times, if you don't have some kind of a, man, I spent $20, I might need to show up. You end up having people
Oh,
that
no,
that
I'm a believer. People that pay attention. So
they
I I
do.
I I, I agree. There has to be a value there. So that's
but
cool. That
but what
makes
we
sense.
don't want to do is, because we want to get to our local contractors and our uh, local agriculture producers, we want them to be there, but we don't want them to break the bank either. So charging something like $200 or $300 is just out of the question for us. For us, we want to attract people. We want to have them there, whether they come for an hour or whether they come for the full 2 days, and hang out with us at our evening session that we're going to be having. That's going to be up to them. And I think that by making it that lower price, we can still kind
Sure.
of get people to have some value in it, but also understand that, look, we're not going to make you stay here for the whole time. And this year we've kind of changed it up. And as we've been developing Pay Dirt 2025, we've kind of had to take some of the things. Not everything was perfect in our first event. I mean, there were some things that
What?
we learned
You guys
from.
didn't run a you guys didn't run a perfect inaugural event?
No, no, and we never will. But and
Hey, how many people actually, how many people did you have? How many people did you
so
have?
over the course of the first 2 days that we did, because we did had a third day that we had a municipal day that we actually had some of our local cities bring in people that need to have training in the MS4 permit for the county. But the first 2 days we averaged about 225 people per day. So after and then the third day we had the municipal day where we had about 150 municipal employees come in to get training. Then Luke did a training where we had 50 people that got a certification, that was, kind of a not a local person training them. It was a national trainer who they got a certification through. And then we had our SWCD annual meeting that evening, but we ended up with more than 600 people over the course of 3 days. Those are different people. So 600 different people were getting some type of education from Pay Dirt over that 3-day period last year. So I consider that to be very
That's
successful for
fantastic.
us.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, StormCon, I think we had 850 all in this year at StormCon. I think we were over 800 in the Ohio Stormwater Conference. So you did 650 over 3 days in your inaugural event. I would say that's a huge success and an absolute way to see what processes were broken with
Right.
that many people going through the process. So what are the changes? What's the changes that you could be making to make it even better here in 2025?
Sure. So we are no longer going to do two separate days. So we are going to be running them together. So the ag piece and the stormwater piece will all be going at the same time. Uh, as a blessing, we've had our event center that we actually held it in. They've expanded this year. They're adding 5,000 square feet and they're upgrading the facilities. So we're going to be stepping into a brand new facility for this year, which is at the same location, but it's all going to be upgraded, new media. It's going to be much nicer than it was. And but with that extra size, we have the ability to hold everybody at the same time. So if we have 300 or 400 people all at one time, we aren't going to feel like we're too crowded in there. The other thing that we're doing is we're offering our breakout sessions at the same time, but the breakout sessions are where you're going to see the difference. You're going to have an ag session going alongside a stormwater session. So you are going to be able to pick and choose what you want, but we have a lot of our sessions are going to be applicable to both. So I think some people are going to have to make some hard decisions on where they're going to want to go and sit and get their credits from, because the thing about stormwater is I talked about earlier, it lands everywhere. It's not just in the cities, and some of the concepts that we're introducing on the agricultural side of things are going to be looking at retentions, large scale retentions in agricultural areas that can hold water prior to it entering the city. So we have a speaker who's coming from Minnesota who is going to be talking about some of the things that they've done and being able to repurpose the water that is in this, and they can use it for, if they hold it long enough, they can use it for agricultural irrigation. They can, and then they can slowly release it back in, and we can identify those locations using some technology we've got from the University of Notre Dame, and they're going to be, we can pinpoint those locations. They can sort of engineer these swales or these retention areas, and then we can hold water back, but we can also have a purpose for it. And so these concepts are those, that's just large scale stormwater. It's not agriculture, but the agricultural producers and people in that industry have to be a part of the process. They have to be willing to let their ground go into these situations and be a part of that process. So those are the conversations we're going to start having with them. And it'll all tie into, well, where does the money come for them to be a part of this? And so I think you kind of see where I'm going. It plays into stormwater on a large scale, not just within your city limits, and kind of taking down
Sure,
county
sure, sure,
lines,
sure,
and
sure.
it's a
Right, right.
watershed approach.
Exactly. Yeah, the water doesn't care
No.
where the border is. Well, the water doesn't care. It just doesn't care. It's just
Yeah.
gonna go where it goes. It doesn't care where the ag stops, starts, where the MS4 stops and starts. I
That's
mean,
right.
the ability to put something together to help people work together is a tremendous effort. So kudos to you, and I hope it continues to work out the way it seems like it. You guys are already getting a lot of traction, so that's awesome.
We are, and including you in a piece of it. I don't want to leave out, bury the lead here. Having you as part of it and be there and do some of
Uh,
these interviews and live podcasting. That's another feature that we're going to offer, is in between sessions, the breaks will be longer than a typical. Sometimes they're 15 minutes, long enough to use a restroom, grab a bite to eat or a snack or something. Our sessions will be broken up into um, about a half hour in between. So we're going to be able to work in some 15, 20-minute smaller sessions in the main vendor exhibitor area. So it's we called it the vendor midway last year because it was kind of like a midway that you'd find at a 4-H fair or something like that. It's
right,
the
right.
vendors are a major piece of what we do, and I can't express enough to people how important it is to make them a part of this whole process. I don't think that any event can be successful without having some buy-in from the people who are working day in and day out in this industry, coming up with innovative ideas to manage stormwater, but also to make sure that, you know, those are people that are also getting an education from your event. They don't go in there and not learn anything. They're always looking for what the next thing is, what the next challenge is, what cities face, and making sure that they are getting the information just as much as the people that come in from their house down the road. So our vendors for us are so important, and we make sure we treat them well. And this year we're going to include an evening session that will be at the same location. We're not going to do anything offsite. We're going to do it right there at our event location, and we're going to have a reception that will be for networking, as they say. It's a networking session, but really, you know, it's about making sure everybody gets a little appreciation shown, but also offer a little bit of an education. We're bringing in the former superintendent of the Indiana National Dunes State Park to talk a little bit about the why. And he just has this great message about the importance of our national parks and our nationally managed areas that are all impacted by stormwater. And they aren't really what you would consider an MS4, but they are all impacted greatly, and many of them are being preserved just for this reason, so that they can avoid being impacted by this. So that message is going to be a big why, and I think that everybody, whether you're in agriculture, stormwater, can appreciate somebody who's committed their life to our natural resources here in the United States. So it's a great thing.
Well, that is awesome. And thank you, by the way. Thank you for inviting us. I'm excited about coming out there. We're going to bring the Stormwater World podcast on the road to Elkhart, Indiana to be at PayDirt 2025. So very exciting. The dates for the conference are March 4th and 5th. It looks like the site's already up. So we'll put that in the show notes. It's it's Elk County Soil and Water Conservation District.org, but it's ELKCO SWCD.org, and then it's /pay-dirt. But if you just go to their basic, their page, you can find advertisements with that logo that Todd was talking about earlier and then you can click on that, find looks like a lot of information already about the event. So that's fantastic. We got a couple other things I want to touch on before we go, Todd. In our pre-show notes, you had mentioned your mantra, which is water quality of life is at the forefront of everything that you guys do, and that the individuals of Elkhart County, whether they be ag or stormwater professionals, have a profound impact on our water quality, pipes or no pipes. Did you want to touch on that mantra a little bit? I feel like it kind of, if you think about what all we've said, what all you've said,
Right.
it's there. It's there. But if you want to encapsulate it again, feel
Sure.
free.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things we get a lot of pushback on regulation here in Indiana, and we're one of those states that we're still catching up on some of the things that are being regulated in the stormwater industry and also in agriculture. We have landowners that want to make sure that they are heard and their rights and their understanding are heard. So when we try to bring up people for enforcement on some of these issues that we might have, sometimes the matrix is set up such that the fines get so ridiculous that they're not even, they just don't make any sense. And one of the things that we've really kind of hopped on and been preaching to our county commissioners, to our city officials, to everybody that we work with on a daily basis, is it's not necessarily about the temperature of the water when it goes into a waterway affecting the wildlife. It's not necessarily the different bats that you might find that are endangered species. Yeah, those things are always impacted by anything that we would do. But really, for them and for the citizens, it's about quality of life. So we talk about as long as you can have good water quality, you're going to have a better quality of life. And everything is coming to the forefront on the importance of water and water management with some of the things that are coming up, especially in our state with groundwater usage and where it goes and how we're using it and things that we're doing. And we're all of a sudden a very popular group of people because we've dealt with this all the time. It's our day to day. And now people that don't understand how aquifers work and groundwater and surface runoff, they're having to ask some really important questions because it's being questioned as to why we're doing this and what we're doing with it when we are doing it. And so I think for us, understanding that we've been beating the drum of water quality for the longest time, that everything stems back to that. And if you can start with that foundation of water quality, you're going to have that quality of life. So I guess somebody could take that and run with it, but we need to put some bumper stickers together, something, I don't know. But it really, Elkhart County, it's about water quality of life, because sometimes it's better to educate than to regulate. And that water quality of life makes people kind of understand it a little bit better without making it a punishment or something like that. So
That's awesome. And then you guys also have some programs in place. I guess you have a SWAMP program, stands for Stormwater Alliance Management Program. You want to
we
share a little bit
do,
on
and
some of that as we kind of start to wrap up?
sure. And we think that this fits in very well with ways for other counties, especially that are designated as an MS4 overall as a county, because for some people that doesn't really make sense when you're dealing with farm fields, you're dealing with agricultural ditches, that type of thing. What we did in 2017, which is a while back, is the Jim Hess, he started this SWAMP program, which is the Stormwater Alliance Management Program, and he did this in partnership with the Elkhart County Surveyor and also with our Greater Elkhart County Stormwater Partnership. We Jim got a Clean Water Indiana grant and got some money to start funding cover crops for farmers, putting in grass waterways, doing some of those agricultural BMPs that have been around for years, that are not structures, but they're nature-based solutions, right? So but to get people to do this it's kind of difficult because they're having to change how they operate. They have to make changes, so it's expensive to make a change to do this. And so he put together a cost share program, which is what this is, that will partially fund the different practices, like I said, grass waterways, the cover crops, those things that we have found over the years, those hold the water back. And the money comes from our Elkhart County Stormwater Fund. So we have assessed a user fee to our citizens of the county for it's $15 a year for each ERU that you have, which basically is your hard surface area. So if you just live in a house, you're paying $15 a year. It's not outrageous. It's a very fair amount, but it collects a lot of money and it funds everything that we do to meet all of the MCMs that we're required to as an MS4. But then we have some money that we can use to also give back and use for outreach education, but then to fund these programs. So not a lot of people are doing this. It's one of those things that we've been doing for quite some time. And when you look at the impact that we've had on water quality and the amount of sediment that we've kept out of our drains and our ditches, it's the return on investment is not something that you can quantify because it's not on a line item in a budget. The money going out is in the line item, but the return on investment doesn't show up because it doesn't actually happen. But if you were to think about the cost of maintaining a drainage ditch, to dip those out, to clean them up, if you can not have as much sedimentation in there, you're saving dump truck loads of time, money, effort to get that out. And it's a significant thing, but it's hard to get people to kind of understand that because, again, you don't have that line item dollar amount that you can show them. It's more of this is about what you would save. And so the thing is getting people to understand what that is and why we do it and why it's related to stormwater. But then also, as we were talking about, as cities and towns are running out of space to manage their stormwater and as they continue to grow, these methods are there where if we can kind of show how much water is being held back by this and strategically put these practices, we can actually impact flooding in our cities, within our county, and in our watershed, and then really anywhere.
Cool. Well, man, I want to tell you, thank you so much for taking time to come on to the pod. I think well, I know from the feedback that I heard that 2024 pay dirt it was a success, and still 2025 sounds like it's going to be even bigger and better and amazing. I mean, because I'll be there. But
Absolutely.
no, but in all seriousness, where do you see it going? What does it look like in your vision a couple years from now? I mean, you've got some, I mean, to to ring me up and say, hey, come do live podcast, come record, come do this. We'll put you on the stage, and you know, that's that's pretty it's pretty creative, and we appreciate it. So, what are you thinking? What's it going to look like in a couple years?
Well, I think, like anything else, this is a passion project for us, right? So there's a certain amount of my own love being cooked into this cake, right? Being baked into this cake. So I the potential is great. It could go, as big as we wanted it to. We could involve more people, but the more people you involve in stuff like this, the more it loses its love in the cake, and it just becomes a Hostess Twinkie at that point. And what we don't want to do is get to that point. We want the people that do
Sure.
come and appreciate this to understand how much time, thought, and effort we put into it. So I think everybody wants to say, yeah, it could be 1,000 people every time, and it could be amazing. And once people really catch on, this is going to be a great thing. And then I think, yeah, that'd be awesome. But the other thing, we want to make sure that we're continuing to produce a quality event that people can come to. It can really kind of strike a chord with them, and I feel like our big opportunity is to make it to where we use outlets like you to provide the digital content so that people don't necessarily have to be there, but they can still be a part of it in some way, just by watching a session or being able to contact us directly through that media, and make it larger that way and have more of an online presence, because we're doing the outreach for our county. That's what we get credit for, but realistically, everybody who approaches this should have something in their head that's saying this, we got to erase county lines, we got to erase state lines. We all have to work together towards this common goal. And I'm not trying to sound preachy, but it really is what it's about. You're near
Yeah,
Houston, Texas down there, and I'm
yeah,
in
I
Indiana, and
am.
you and I are
Yeah,
having this conversation. And I think
that's right.
it's so much more than just that. I don't want to feel too small here in my role. I want to have that opportunity to reach more people, but that again, I don't want to be the Hostess Twinkie either. So I think that when in 3-4 years, I think we're going to still be chugging along 600 to 1,000 people, and hopefully then we can also count 2, 3, 4, 500 people, 1,000 people that are watching it from other places, getting trying to get some buy-in on that concept, because I think there really is something to it. And I believe that as we grow as a nation, and as more people move into cities, and fewer people are actually farming, we're going to have a lot of things, that data centers and solar farms, and we're going to have to be managing water differently than we used to, and we've got to get out ahead of it instead of being so reactive in everything we do. It's time to be a little bit more proactive with all of this. So but yeah, pay dirt, I hope it gets huge, but again, I can only manage so much. My time is it's spread thin. It takes a lot of hours. I had
Right.
somebody
Oh
contact me
yeah.
yesterday, and they said, if you could say how many hours it took to plan this event, what would you say? And I had to laugh, because I was like, well, do you count the hours I'm driving down the road in my truck thinking about it? Can you count the hours where I'm
Right.
sitting at home eating dinner with my kids, and my daughter says something she did at school, and I say, hey, that actually sounds kind of cool. I could do that on Pater. Who knows? But again, that's
Yeah.
that passion
Oh yeah.
project. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Anytime you try to pull something off and you try to do it consistently, it takes a little bit more time than I think people realize.
it does. And
I wish I could say I just fire this thing up and I get to talk to people and then it just, it goes out and that's it. But there's a little bit of extra time and attention that goes into everything that you do.
absolutely.
Um, but man, I'm excited for the event. I am excited to be a part of it. We will link everything in the show notes. Todd, so that people can, find information on it? I guess I'm assuming the best way to touch base with you if they want to reach out and have questions is your email address, which we'll also include in the show notes. Or what's your email? Do you want to go ahead and just say it for
Yeah,
those that
sure.
are?
You can reach out to me. It's T Clark, Tclark, at Elkhart County, which is ELKHARTCOUNT.com, elkhartcounty.com. So
Okay.
yeah, if you want to reach out with an email, I would be glad to answer. And anybody who's interested, whether you be a sponsor or somebody who wants to attend, or find out ways to attend virtually, we'll work you in, because I think that again, we want to get as many people as we can kind of on this movement. And um, this is an excellent platform, so I appreciate all that you do, Ty, for Stormwater. I think it's fantastic. So
Well, thank you very much. We're just trying to find good, smart people to talk to. That's all.
yeah,
And,
well,
and
you'll
so
find
there
them
you go.
someday.
I'm pretty sure you qualify. I'm pretty sure you
uh,
qualify. But hey, all right, everybody. I think that's a wrap. That's the pod. Thanks, and make sure you go check out Elkhart County, and just you can actually just Google Elkhart County pay dirt, and it will come up. So
Absolutely.
appreciate you. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Ty.